Thank goodness this is not me, and it's StreamYard that we're having problems with here today. So thank you for hanging on to us, hanging on, and letting me get my stuff back together. Like I said, we're going to talk about the U-line Icemaker. This is the HCP 115 or the HCL 115. It is a 15-inch clear ice machine. It's what we're talking about. Finally, it's just really slow today. I apologize. Okay, so let's get right in again. Okay, so one of the things that I really like about this unit, okay, it has a left and a right hand hinge swing. So when it comes from the factory, all of them are set with the right hand hinge. Okay. But if something happens and I don't want a right hand hinge, I want a left hand hinge, it's pretty simple to change. Okay. It's not as simple as it used to be, but it's pretty easy to change. Okay. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to actually remove the door gasket that's at the very top. You can see the hand right there. That is on the right hand. The right hand is starting to pull off the corner of the door gasket. Always start by pulling off on a corner. Don't grab to the middle and start to pull. You can actually stretch the gasket out. If you come to the corners, you have a little bit better not stretching ability, but I pull that off. Okay. Once I remove that, I'm going to take the spacers that are, if you look at the left hand, that's a spacer right there. I'm going to have to, some of the times I can slide it up. Some of the times I have to pull the spacer out and put the spacer back in. And what I would do is I would take the door gasket itself, I would lay it down flat. Okay. Then I would take that on the left hand. Okay. That's that spacer bar. There's one on each side. There's one on the left, one on the right, and then there's two at the bottom. Okay. So I'm going to have to remove those. I'm going to have to invert them. I'm going to have to move them from the bottom to the top. Okay. On both the left and the right side. Then I'm going to take, there's two on the very bottom. I'm going to have to pull those off, put those at the very top. Okay. I'm going to then, once I've done that, I can take and put that door gasket that I have pulled back into that same spot that I have put it in. I've got to be sure, though, that I have to be very careful and make sure that I put the bottom spacer. Okay. After I've inverted that, I have to make sure that I put the door gasket so that it keeps the magnet. Okay. It has to be positioned correctly. If you look on the very bottom in the slides here, I'm showing you exactly where you need to put that. If you notice, there's a magnet right there at the bottom. Once you put that door gasket in, you have to have that magnet exposed. If you don't, it won't work. Okay. So once I have done all of that and I put all that stuff back together, I'm now ready to swap the door itself over. So I have to remove all the screws on the right, those three screws right there at the top. Okay. I'm going to have to remove those on the bottom. I have to remove that bottom hinge. Okay. I'm going to take on the left hand side, I'm going to take a putty knife it's got to be very careful so that you don't scratch it, because you can actually scratch this and then then you have problems. So I'm going to take those screws out. I'm going to take my putty knife and I'm going to prise up. I actually use a knife instead of a putty knife, but it's recommended a putty knife here. So I lift those up. I'm going to keep those in my hand. There's four little pins. I mean, four little caps. I'm going to take those top left hinge. I'm going to invert it. So I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to take the pivot screw that's on the bottom that you see right there, this labeled pivot screw. I'm going to then put that screw back in, okay, on the left side. And then I can move the bottom hinge over from one side to the other. Again, you have to pull the little cover. There's the little plastic covers off with a putty knife. I use like I said, I use just a regular knife. To me, it works easier for me. Okay, so once I have gotten the top hinge started, okay, what I do is I take and I put two of the screws in, not all of them. I put the one on the very back, and then I put the one on the front on the right side if I'm changing it, okay. And then I leave that last one off. I put my I invert my door. I put it in the spot. I take it and I put it into place, set it down. I tighten the one screw in the very back. I start to tighten the other screw on the right hand side so I can hold it. I put the other screw in now with my fingers, finger tighten it, start it. Once I have that started, I adjust my door so that it's nice and straight and level and it's all looking well. And then I tighten that one all the way down. Okay. So after I get through doing all that, I still open the door, close the door, check my seal, make sure that everything works properly. Okay. So if I have to connect the water line or disconnect the water line, if I have to pull this unit out, I have to know how to disconnect and connect the water line. Okay. This is just a 1/4 inch water line. I suggest a steel braided water line. It works better. Don't use a plastic water line here. Whenever you go through the back, there's not really a you can tape around the hole to make sure that you don't end up damaging the water line if you have something other than the braided. But I like the braided because it helps me to keep from damaging that braid. Okay, so I'm going to feed that water line through the back. Okay, I'm going to attach the water line with my hand. The hand tighten it down. Once I hand tighten it down, I'm going to take my wrench and I'm going to turn it about. Usually it's depends on how tight I've gotten it. Okay, I'm going to tighten it about. Usually it's about 3/4 of a turn to a full turn. I can tell. I'm going to tighten it not too tight, but I'm going to tighten it pretty well. Okay. And once I do that, I'm going to turn the water on. Once I turn the water on, I'm going to come back to the front of the unit and I'm going to check it for leaks. Okay. If I have to pull this unit, I have to be very careful in pulling this. I have to remove the drain line and I'm going to have to loosen. I'm going to have to the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the water off if I have to pull this unit from the hole. Okay. I'm going to turn the water off. I'm going to pull the hose out. Once I do that, I'm going to slide it out into place. After I do that, I can remove the water line from the back, and then whenever I have to go and put it back on, I have to make sure that I actually have the water line in the correct position. Push it back through. I have a drain that I have to reconnect. Please be careful doing that. You can damage a unit. You never know what the person that installed it did. Okay. And the problem is if this under the counter water line, I have seen some funky installations. I'll show my age. As the old saying goes, there's some funky cold Medina going on. Okay, so you have to be very careful whenever I am pulling this unit out. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I got a covering for my floor. Okay, if you've been in any of my classes, if I'm going to have to pull anything, the first thing that I do is I put floor protection down. You put floor protection, you use whatever floor protection you want to use. Here's the problem. If I use a blanket, I can still cause damage to the floor. If I use even a air sled, if I'm not careful, I can still cause damage to the floor. You have to be careful. You have to be cognizant of what's going on around you. Okay? So this unit, they require every 6 months is what the manufacturer is telling the customer they need to come in and they need to clean this condensing coil. If I have pets, if it's a high traffic area, let's say that it's the entrance to the back door. The unit sits right by the back door, so I've constantly got dirt and lint and cat hair and dog hair all around it. It's going to require 6 months. Okay, so what I recommend is you do it however you want to do it. What I recommend is to take a vacuum cleaner with a brush attachment. Okay, and I'm gonna use that brush attachment to go up and down. I'm not going to press hard. All I'm doing is I'm trying to get the lint and the dirt out from in this coil. Okay. Like I said, this is dependent on the conditions and the placement of the unit. So you're going to need to make sure that you tell the customer, hey, listen, you need to clean this. If you don't clean it, it impedes the use of the product, and it won't do what you need it to do at all the time. Okay. It causes slow ice production. It causes failure on parts. There's just a list of things that it goes through, and you as technicians should know all of these so that you can convince the customer that they need to do it. Okay. As needed, you may have to use. I used to carry a little small can of compressed air with me. Okay. One of the other guys with me, he had an old. I'm sure that nobody does this anymore, but he had an old tank that had a like a cable to it, okay, like a water line hooked to the tank, and then it had a screw-on fitting on the back, and he used it as an air gun. Okay, I prefer just to. It's easier for me to keep track of it, and it's a whole lot better for me just to use a small can of compressed air. You can buy a can of compressed air at any you can even buy them at Walmart or any place that sells paper and things like that, Office Depot area type things. So just make sure that if you need to, you can blow through it. Now, the other thing that I would caution you about, if the customer hasn't been cleaning it properly and regularly, whenever you start to blow it, you're going to get just a mess. Okay, you have to be prepared for that. So, kind of put a paper bag across a paper bag. It uses paper anymore. Take a little plastic bag, tape it across the back. Use the can to spray into it so that it drops it all to the floor and it doesn't go everywhere. Okay. Now, on this unit, it's very particular. You have got to have the unit leveled properly. Okay. The levels has to be both front to back and side to side. Okay. If you don't have it leveled properly, you can have a varied array of issues that you can have. You can have ill-formed of ice. Okay. It can be hollow on one side. It's just it's not going to work properly. The customer is going to probably tell you, I'm not getting the ice production that I need to get. So the first thing I used to do was check to make sure that everything was leveled properly. Because if it's leveled one way, it causes the when the water cascades over the plate, it actually will cause like one side not to work properly. One side will have holes in it. Okay. So if you look at this plate right here on the left, okay, it causes that the water doesn't come in properly, and you end up with a whole lot of problems. Now on your nugget and flaker machine, you still have a problem. Okay, you still have it that you can't get it in properly. You can't get the water proper, and you get vast complaints, especially on the nugget flaker, because the nugget requires, if you have spillover, that ice melts a whole lot faster than the regular ice, although it will melt the regular cuber ice. Okay. Now the old style machine, this is the machine that I grew up with. Okay. I've been in this business since I was 18 years old. I am now 64. I will tell you that this is the machine that I used to work on, and if I could find myself one of these machines, I would buy it. I like this machine. It's nothing more than a half cube ice maker. Okay, that ice maker right there is nothing more than an ice machine than an ice maker that used to be in an old refrigerator. This thing will make about 4 pounds of ice a day, and the bin is big enough so it will hold 4 pounds of ice every day. Okay, I love this machine. Okay, we're going to stop right here. I'm going to ask anybody if they have any questions. Does anybody have any questions so far? I'm going to give you a chance to just type your comments in the comment box, and then hit send, and it will do it. How are we doing, Paul? Good morning, Denise. Good morning, Brian. Good morning, Rupert. Good morning, Paul. Okay. I don't see any comments, so we're going to go back and we're going to continue so that we can get through. Okay. Here is our control operation. This is what the controls look like in this U-line. Okay. So here are the functions. The on-off button, okay, you're going to press the little button that is right, okay. See it right there. It's the fourth. It's the next to the last button. That's the button that you mask, okay. So that turns the unit on and off, okay. Why would I turn this unit off? If I have somebody and I'm not going to be around for a while, I'm going to turn the water off to the unit, and I'm going to turn the unit off so that I don't have any problems and I don't burn anything up. Okay. One of the things that I like about this, we're going to get into this in just a little bit, so I'm not going to go too far into it, but like to adjust the light color. One of the things that I really like about this unit is that it has what they call bright shield. Okay. I would tell you that as a technician, I would keep this on. Okay. If the customer changes it, the customer changes it. Okay. I would make sure that I had it either in 01 or 02. Okay. So that I have the bright shield activated. Okay. We're going to get into the bright shield. It's on down it's the next set of slides. So go ahead and keep that in your mind. Like I said, I really like bright shield. This is something that is really nice. Okay. So we have a toggle for the interior light with the door closed. We can press and release the toggle interior light button. Press it again to deactivate. So all that does is turn my light on and off. Okay. I can adjust the thickness. I don't want the customer adjusting the thickness. Whenever this unit comes in, it's adjusted so that it has the correct thickness. We're going to go through that later on, about 2/3 of the way through the presentation. So just hang on and keep that in the back of your mind. This unit does have a Sabbath mode. Okay. So I'm going to press the little light bulb. Okay. Right here on the third from the right. Okay. I'm going to press that light bulb, and that will put me into fat Sabbath mode if I hold it for 5 seconds. Okay, the Fahrenheit and the Celsius symbol will flash briefly after 5 seconds. The interior light display will go dark and remain so until the user resets the mode. It's still nice that it has a Sabbath mode. Okay. To disable the Sabbath mode, all I have to do is press and release the light bulb. Okay. And then the display and the light will return to its normal function. Okay. It has a silent mode, which suspends the ice production for 3 hours. Okay. I'm going to hold the up button, and then I'm going to hold the on off button. Display will count down the hours: 3 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour. Okay. That was something that if you have something that you don't want people in your ice machine, you can do that, and it will hold off 3 hours. Okay. Clean mode. We're going to go through clean mode. So hold on to that. Showroom mode. You may walk in and this thing could be in showroom mode. I have walked in and the customer did not know what in the world was going on. It wouldn't work. The light came on whenever the door was open, but it didn't do anything. That's showroom mode. I'm going to go through, like I said, I'm going to go through showroom mode. I'm going to hold the down button and the light button for 5 seconds. This display will be lit in the interior light function. The unit will not cool. Repeat the command to return to normal operation. So if I come in and it's in showroom mode, the reason I'm going to know that is because I have no compressor. The light works. That tells me that probably the customer either accidentally put it in the showroom mode, or they had they bought it from the store, the retailer, and it was in showroom mode whenever they bought it. Okay, but all I have to do again is to hold the down button and the light button for 5 seconds, and that takes you out of showroom mode. That's the most important thing. It's easy to get in and out of. Okay. Now, I told you we're going to talk about Bright Shield. Okay. This is a light that does, it helps to kill and prevent the growth of viruses, bacteria, yeast, molds, and mildews. Okay. The nice thing that I like this, okay, if you go down to the next paragraph, it says testing on a non-enveloped virus, okay, which is the MS2 bacteria, shows a 97.2% reduction in the controlled laboratory testing. Okay, here's the nice one: SARS-CoV-2. Okay, that developed virus shows a 98.45 reduction if you have that unit turned, if you have the bright shield turned on. That's why I tell you to make sure that it was in either the 0-1 mode or the 0-2 mode. Okay. I don't want it in just the regular where I don't have bright shield. So I'm actually killing some of the virus that would be in there. Okay. Testing on the MRSA E. coli showed a 90% reduction. Okay. So just like I said, this is an anti-chromatic light technology. Is not intended to replace manual cleanings or disinfection processes. You still have to clean the unit. You still have to go through, and you still have to go and uh, and do all of the necessary steps for cleaning. Okay, like I said, we're going to go through that. If you have any more questions, you can go down to Bright Shield. You can go to www.uline.com. That you can search Bright Shield, and it will show you all the information about Bright Shield. Okay. The other thing about Bright Shield, it provides continuous antimicrobial, easy for me to say, antimicrobial action to keep the surface clean. It's approved for continuous use around people, pets, and plants. It reduces odors caused by bacteria, fungus, yeast, molds, and mildew. Okay. It creates a cleaner environment for food, beverages, and ice. Okay. So the other thing that we talked about is cube thickness. Okay. We have already sat and gone through back in the 3 slides before this. Okay. Whenever this ice machine comes from the factory, excuse me. Whenever this ice machine comes from the factory, it's set to maintain about a 1/16 to a 1/8 inch cube thickness. Okay, under the normal conditions, resulting in a dimple of approximately 1/4 to 1/2 in depth. A fuller ice cube with less of a dimple is in a thicker ice bridge. As the bridge becomes thicker, the tendency for ice cubes to stay together as the slab increases. A bridge thicker than 1/8 may cause cubes to overfill the ice bucket. Okay, so that's something that you need to be aware of. You want the customer may get in there and monkey around and find out, and then they call you and they complain because, hey, my ice is not breaking apart. I'm having to break this ice apart. That's wrong. Okay, that's not wrong. It's because you said it wrong. So you have to go in and you have to double check and make sure that I have the right thickness of ice. Okay, so what I want right here is between 1/4 to 1/2 inch. Okay. And then I want a 1/8, 1/16 to 1/8 ice bridge. Okay. That is the factory default settings. Okay. Ice thickness adjustment should only be made one increment at a time. Allow Icemaker production to stabilize for 24 hours before rechecking the ice thickness. It will adjust. Okay, the first time that you adjust the ice thickness, lo and behold, if I do that and I don't come out and I don't make sure that I don't wait the 24 hours, I can tell you that it probably in 6 to 8 hours you're gonna be able to tell if you need to adjust it. Okay. So, but you need to look at it. It needs to be close to what it is. That's whenever it's set on 0. Okay. So here's the ice cubes. That's the way that they're formed. As you notice, they're at an angle. Whenever they come down, whenever they're designed so that whenever that cube hits the bin, it breaks up. Okay. So 32 ice cubes are formed on a 4x8 slab during the cycle. Each cycle takes approximately 15 to 20 minutes at the default cube size thickness. Okay. So one of the things that you have to remember is if the customer has gone in there and monkeyed around with it, it also increases the time because it takes more time to get it thicker. Just as an FYI. Okay. So I told you that we're going to go through cleaning. I had to remove a bunch of the slides that I had because this presentation was too large. And this one is already we're already at 42 minutes. And it would have taken about 2.5 hours for me to get through everything. So I cut this down. You will have full access to this on the Encompass University website tomorrow. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the ice machine off and allow any ice to melt off the evaporator. Number one, you don't get in there with a screwdriver. I don't want to try to prise off the ice cubes with a knife, I can damage everything. Okay. And if you walk in and that unit has been damaged, I look at the customer and I say, here, this has happened. I'm sorry that somebody has done this, but this is what happens. And I'm sorry, but you're going to have the whole evaporator replaced. Okay. One thing to remember about this unit, all of these units are R600. We're going to get into that. That's going to be the last of this presentation. Okay. R600 is highly flammable. Okay. So, but let's get back on task. Okay. So I'm going to remove all of my ice from the storage bin. This ice doesn't have a cooling in the bin itself. This is a wet ice. Okay. It's what it's termed as wet ice. It's not ice like it would have been if it was in a freezer section. Okay. So this is wet ice. If I put all of this ice in a different container and put it in a freezer, all it's going to do is freeze and make a whole lot of mess. Okay. It'll freeze into a solid block and you got nothing but problems. You might as well just throw it out. Okay. Or you can take it out and use it in your cooler if you carry a cooler like I do. That way it keeps my drinks cold. Okay. I'm going to remove the evaporator cover. You see that right there. You notice that there's a screw in the back. Okay. I'm going to remove the standpipe by lifting up while using a slight back pressure and a slight back and forth motion to loosen the drain hole. The water in the reservoir will flow down the drain. I'm going to reinstall the standpipe through the water trough. Okay. Here's a picture of it. Here's the standpipe. Notice that right in the center of it. That's the water trough. So I'm going to clean the interior bin like this. Okay. I'm going to dilute 1 to 2 ounces of clear ice machine cleaner into 2 quarts of water. I'm going to use a sponge or cloth and clean the interior of the ice bin tubing and door. This cleaner will remove all the mineral deposits and the other contaminants from the surface. Okay. This is the ice machine cleaner for a U-line. I would tell you, on my other stuff, I kept just a regular ice machine cleaner. On a U-line, I did use a U-line ice machine cleaner. Okay. So like I said, this is for cleaning the bin. Okay. So what I do is take that 1 to 2 ounces of ice machine cleaner, put it into 2 quarts of water. I'm then going to take I'm going to take and divide that in half. Once I have replaced that that little standpipe, the button for the bottom, so that I can get it back in. I can pour that in to the water trough. I'm going to take and turn the unit into clean. It's going to clean. I'm going to use a sponge or a cloth. I had one of those. You can buy like a used to be a 12-pack. I think they're down to 6. But it was a little soft cloth. That's what I used. Okay. You use whatever you want to use. You just want to make sure that you're not damaging the customer's unit and you're not scraping anything around. Okay. Do not use a pick, an ice, anything, a screwdriver. Don't damage the customer's unit. Okay. So after I do this, I'm going to take the bottle brush. I'm going to take a bottle brush that I have. I'm going to clean out the trough tube and the pump where I need to do that. If I do this every 6 months, it should be very easy to do. If it's been a year, it's going to be harder. You're going to have twice the problem. If it's been 3 years, you're probably going to have to take this drain trough out totally. You're going to have to take the pump tubing. I'm going to have to take that all the way out, and I'm going to probably have to take 1 to 2 ounces of cleaner and put it in my bucket that I have and let that stuff soak for about 20 minutes. Okay. You have to tell the customer whenever you come in, you can look at it and you tell the customer, hey, I am going to have to do this because you've got fungi and everything else growing in this, and it's not sanitary. Okay. So like I said, after I've cleaned all this, I'm going to turn the unit on. Okay. Place the unit into the clean mode by holding the I call it the alpha and omega symbol for 5 seconds. When the water begins flowing over the evaporator, pour 1 to 2 ounces of clear ice machine cleaner into the trough. Cleaning the process will last about 45 minutes. Okay. I'm going to dilute 1 tablespoon of bleach into a gallon of warm water. Okay. I'm going to take this entire solution and use that on the inside of the storage. Okay. Then I'm going to have to rinse it with water. I prefer to go back out and grab some of my sanitizer, and I'm going to put the 2 ounces of sanitizer into a gallon of water. I'm going to use that and sanitize everything in the bin, and that way I have a sanitary thing that people can start to use, and I know that it's taken care of. And I have gotten rid of all of the bleach substitute. Okay, so once it has gone through this 45-minute cycle, it'll resume operations in 15 minutes after the automated cleaning process is completed. The water fill valve will energize, fill the water reservoir. It will shut off after 3 minutes. The compressor begins to operate. Water flows over the evaporator assembly, okay, which is the ice mold. Initially, the water flow may not be uniform, causing uneven cubes or water to spill through the ice storage bin. This is a normal situation. It will correct itself within the first 24 hours of operation. You just need to make sure that you're letting the customer know, okay, that this is a normal thing. You have to make sure, one, that I have it level front to back, side to side. If I have pulled this unit for some reason, you have got to make sure that you've done that. Otherwise, you're never going to fix it. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do, I'm going to sit there and wait for it to make ice. Okay. I'm going to discard all the ice. I'm going to throw that ice away. Okay. Should power to the unit be interrupted during the self-clean cycle, it will be necessary to repeat the complete the cleaning process after power is restored. So if something happens and you have a power outage, you just have to just start all over from the very beginning. Okay. So I know everybody knows that Uline is based out of Wisconsin, right? I lived in Minneapolis, Minnesota for about 17 years. Okay. I can tell you that water quality is not, it's not great. It's really hard water. So you have, the quality of water is really hard. So I had to have everything put on a softener. Okay. But it's still, I can still have some bad water quality. So one of the other things is if they don't keep the maintenance up on this unit, you can get a lime scale or calcium. So in every single one of my houses, I mean every single faucet that I had, I literally had lime scale and calcium building up in the unit, so that I had to go and clean those with CLR every 6 months. Otherwise, it just stopped up. Okay, same thing with this ice machine. You may have this same problem. You're going to be looking for it just in case. It could be something, you could be on well water. That could cause the problem. Okay, just be cognizant of the issues. Okay, Uline offers a cost-effective refresh kit, which replaces many interior components and return your unit to like new condition. Refresh kits may be ordered from the distributor, which would be our favorite, Encompass. Okay, so for information, just you can go to Uline or go to the distributor and ask them for some Uline cleaner. Okay, so let's kind of advance on. We're talking about problems and then possible causes and remedies. Okay, if the unit doesn't come on, or the electronic display doesn't work, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure, of course, that the unit actually has power to it. I can do that one of many ways. If I can get to the plug, I can just stick my meter into the plug and verify that it does have power. Okay. If the display shows an error code, I need to go and find what that error code is, and I need to go ahead and take care of the error code that I have. Okay. The unit develops condensation on external surfaces. The unit is exposed to excessive humidity. Moisture will dissipate as humidity levels decrease. Okay. So this is whenever I have condensation on external surfaces. This unit does not have a Yoder loop heater. Okay. Poor ice quality. So the unit may not be level. I'm going to check to make sure that the unit's level. The Icemaker system may be dirty. That could be my problem. And I'm going to make sure that I have made sure that the unit has been cleaned. It could be that the condensing coil is dirty. If the condensing coil is dirty, it causes low ice production. It causes unnecessary wear and tear on the components behind the condensing coil, which would be your compressor and your condenser fan motor. You'll have problems. So I want to make sure that that's clean. So whenever I come out, the first thing I always did, was I pull the bottom cover so that I could see the condensing coil. That tells me right there, as the customer been taking care of their product. If it hasn't been doing that, I know that I'm in for a treat. I prepare the customer by saying, "Hey, well, I see that this hasn't been cleaned in a while. We may have some other issues here. So just to let you know, this could be an hour process, and I don't know how you charge. You could charge hourly. You could charge by the job. However you charge, you just need to let the customer know, hey, this is going to be the issue, and I'm going to have to spend some more time than I had anticipated. Okay. Not enough ice. Once again, ensure the condenser coil is clean and free of any dirt or lint buildup. Once again, this is an R600 unit. So your suction line is going to be about the same temperature. It's a little bit less than room temperature, but not much. Okay. Water in the ice bin, you may have a restricted drain. So what'll happen is sometimes if the customer, especially if the customer has not cleaned the unit ever, you get stuff, you get gunk, slime, sludge, whatever you want to call it, in the drain line, and you may end up having to pour warm water and a degreasing agent, not a degreasing agent, an ice maker machine cleaner down that drain. Okay, it could be that the drain is restricted, so I gotta check that first. Okay, my wiring diagram. This is a 120 volt unit. Okay, this is not a 240 volt. Okay, so if you look right here, it shows that there is a wastewater pump right there. So I can go, if I have a problem, I can go in and check my black and my white wire, and that's my wastewater pump. That's my power. If I've got my voltage coming into that, and it still is not working, I'm probably going to take my pump. I'm going to have to pull this unit all the way out if I have this problem. I'm going to have to take my pump apart, look for it, see if I can fix it. If I can't fix that, then I'm going to have to replace the pump. And this is going to cost the customer extra money. Okay. My water pump, if I come down and I've got no water, the water is not circulating, my recirculation pump is not working, I can also come in and check my black wire and my white wire. If you look right here, the white wire is on the far right, the black wire is on the left. I should be getting my voltage there to my water pump. Okay. My hot gas down there, if I get something that I'm not getting a hot gas valve not opening, I could have had hot gas failure. If that's the case, we're going to have to go into the system and fix it. Okay. Our fan, it's pretty simple. All of these are pretty simple. Okay. My control board, here's what it takes care of. Okay. Like I said, all of this information will be available. One thing that I'll tell you is if you look right here, it shows you to the compressor. But if you go to this one right here, it shows you where the overload, okay, is hot. I've got a neutral there, and I have the relay. This is for the Umbraco compressor. That's what they have in their units. Okay, so look at there. We're going to start again. Okay, R600. See if I can make this go away. R600. Okay, I like the way that they have done R600. Okay. The one thing that I will tell you about R600 once again is that it is basically, it has more in it, but it's basically a Bic lighter. Okay. It is highly flammable. Okay. If you have R600, and you dispense it into the atmosphere, it's fine, but it has to be outside. If you have my parents have gas, I have electric. I still wouldn't do it in an electric house. But if I have a gas, if I have a gas stove or a gas oven or a gas anything, gas dryer, I have a possibility that if the molecules are correct and they line up just properly, I can burn the house down. Okay. R600, okay, it has it's pure isobutane refrigerant. Okay. So you always need to have, I don't recommend these kind of gloves because I've got no feeling in my hands. I want to have some feeling in my hands, so I use a coated glove. Um, all I'm doing is just protecting my hands so that if I have just a second, I can yank something off because it's if I need it. Okay. R600 is considered non-toxic, but it's highly flammable when mixed with the air. Okay. So I'm going to make sure that I have on eye protection of some kind. If it's my regular glasses, that's fine. And I want to make sure that I have a set of gloves around. If something happens, I have one other piece of safety equipment that I need to have with me. Okay. Need to have a dry powder type fire extinguisher. That has to be in my work area. I have got to have that so that if I have a flash, I have a way to put it out. We have had many people not be properly prepared and cause damage to them, the customer's house, or the customer. Please be very careful whenever we're dealing with R600. You're going to have to pardon me. It's getting a little warm here in Troy, Alabama, because it's about, let's see, it is now 85 degrees. Okay. R600 is heavier than air. Do not allow leakage migration to low areas such as basement or stairs. So what it's going to do, if I have a house that has a basement or stairs, that's where it's going to migrate to. Okay. Never substitute replacement parts or methods for construction. So just make sure that you're using your proper OEM replacement parts. Okay. Don't go and put a U-line part in. Don't go ahead and use one of the cheap generic parts. Always use a U-line OEM replacement part. Okay. R600 has got to be stored and transported in approved containers. You have to have markings on the outside of your whatever you're carrying it in. If it's a car, it's got to be on the outside showing that you have it. Okay. If I've got a van that I have R600 in, I have got to have that in there. Not only do I have to have it in there, I have to have MSDS sheets on everything. Okay. Make sure that you have the proper documentation. It will save you a fine because that's something that you really want to stay away from. Okay. So R600, you've got to make sure that all of my tools, okay, are approved for use with an R600 unit. I can't use my 134A gauges, my 212 gauges, any set of gauges. It has to be a dedicated set of refrigerant gauges. It has to be a vacuum pump has to be different. You need all information. You need all new product. Okay, ventilation is required during servicing. No conversions from to R600 from any of the other refrigerants. You're contaminating the system, and you just bought the unit. Okay, and I mean the whole unit. Okay, service area must be free of ignition sources. No smoking is allowed in the service area. Goes without saying. If you're stupid enough to light a cigarette and you're in the area and you purge R600, you get what you deserve. I mean, please be smart about it. Okay. All replacement electrical components must be OEM and installed properly. Okay. It's got to be sealed and covered. If something happens and we have, let's just take a micro switch. Okay. You know that a micro switch actually, there's an arc, and that arc can actually cause a flashback if I have R600 around. Okay. The other thing to remember, I want you to please remember this. If the evaporator is cold prior to the service, you got to thaw it, or you got to have it. You got to have it um, so that it's normal temperature, not operating temperature. It needs to be room temperature. Okay. When using a vacuum pump, start the pump before opening the refrigerant system. Just simple things that's just pretty easy to remember. Okay. R600 equipment, R600 equipped products are labeled both on the compressor and on the model serial tag. R600 is a colorless, odorless gas. Okay. R600 is considered a non-toxic flammable gas. Okay. Do not remove or alter any R600 labeling on the product. Goes with any product that you have that has R600. You cannot modify it at all. You can't remove the label. You got to please make it so that your next person in the line has the same knows as much as you do about the unit. Okay. Recover and the recovery equipment, according to the EPA, you do not have to recover this unit. Okay. I don't have to reclaim this unit. Okay. I can use common piercing pliers or piercing valve for R600. I have got to remove that. You cannot have this like a 134A system where I used to go behind somebody and there was a valve that was actually already either A, soldered on, or B, either soldered on or had been put on. Okay. You can't do that with R600. With the flammability of the unit, you cannot have that problem. Piercing valves, the soldering valve has got to be removed. Okay. Evacuating and reclaim via the piercing pliers is the easiest way to do this to ensure the system is empty of R600A. The one thing that you need to make sure that you know, okay, if I am replacing the compressor actually has about 60% of the charge in the oil in the compressor. Okay. Don't assume that it's okay. Okay. You have to follow the recovery reclaim instructions for any of your specific equipment that you use. Okay. So the unit itself, if I'm changing the compressor, will hold up to 45%, okay, of the charge in the oil. So I can't just go out there and grab and if I don't unsweat anything when it comes to R600. I don't have a death wish. Okay. When it comes to R600, I use one of the methods. I prefer lock ring. Okay. I have to use those methods. I have to use the lock ring method to take it out and then replace it with lock ring fittings so that I don't have to worry about it. I can't go running out the door with it. I'm making a joke, but it's not funny. I've seen guys, go through and spill and take care of take care of the customer's house. Act like it's one step better than your own. Okay. Okay. Ensure no residential refrigerant is left in the system prior to the repair. Evacuate charged with dry nitrogen for leak checks. Okay. Then repair the leaks or replace the system when required. The system must be purged with dry nitrogen and at least one access point open to the atmosphere. Okay. Proper ventilation is required along with a consistent monitoring for the presence of R600 refrigerant. Okay. I have a snubber that is for flammable gas. I put that down beside me to make sure that I don't have any of the refrigerant that is leaked out. Okay. Please make sure that you're being safe. This is a flammable gas. If you don't believe me, there is a YouTube video from a GE engineer where he took it out to a field and showed what would happen if I used a torch on it and it blows up. Okay, that's what happens. Okay, just please be careful. Okay, once again, I have a leak detector just like this. So after removal of the R600A, the unit can be charged with dry nitrogen or helium, electronic leak detection, or soap solution care used to check the dry nitrogen and helium for leaks. Never use a halide torch or a lighted match to check the system for leaks. Okay. Like I said, this stuff is extremely flammable. I have seen videos where people have gotten burned because they were silly and they didn't take care of themselves, and they ended up damaging the customer's home. Okay, the hot side of the refrigeration system, the compressor discharge outlet of the dryer, must be leak checked with a compressor running. So you have got to make sure whenever I get back and I'm checking this, I'm going to make sure that I know what I have. Okay. So I've gone through and told you about what is required. I'm going to stop there for just a minute. We're almost 2/3 of the way. We're over 2/3 of the way through the system, through this presentation. We got about 8 or 10 more slides. And then we're going to go back to questions. But if you have a question right now would be a good time to ask your question. Okay, we must have done a pretty good job of explaining things so far. Okay, so here's our normal conditions. Okay, my suction pressure is normal. The suction line is slightly below room temperature. The compressor discharge is very high. Hot. The condenser is hot. Okay. The capillary tube is just warm. The evaporator is cold. Okay. So this is when I have a normal, when everything is normal. Okay. If I have an overcharge, I have a higher than normal suction pressure. My suction line is very cold, and it may even have a frost line on it. I have seen them where they have frosted all the way back to the all the way to the what do you call it? It's a little small line that goes from the evaporator. Okay, I've seen those frosted all the way back. Okay, my compressor discharge slightly warm to hot. This is for an overcharge. My condenser is warm to hot. My capillary tube is just cool. My evaporator is cold, and my uh, here. So if I have an undercharge, I have a lower than normal suction line pressure. If the my suction line is going to be warm, it's to me it is room temperature. Um, my compressor discharge is very hot. Okay, if I have this is for a partial restriction. Okay, my capillary tube is room temperature. My evaporator is extremely cold near the outlet. I'm near the inlet. The outlet is below room temperature and backing up. So it'll actually back up into the evaporator. Okay. If I have a complete restriction, okay, if I'm in a deep vacuum, okay, my suction line is room temperature, which is cool. My compressor discharge again is cool. Everything on is cool. The problem is the evaporator. You got nothing. You get no nut. You can't tell anything. It's just like it wasn't working, but you hear the compressor running. Okay. If I've got no gas, which is 0 psi to 25%, my suction line is room temperature. My discharge is my discharge pressure. My compressor discharge pressure is cool to hot. Okay, my condenser is room temperature. My capillary tube is room temperature. My evaporator, I have nothing going through it, so it's just like it's not cold, nothing. So you probably want to keep this just so you can. I would tell you to take this with you. I used to have a folder and I could put stuff on it. I just made sure that I had that with me if I'm a new technician. Okay. So here once again, here's the flow. Okay. So if you look here, it comes out of the compressor, goes through the condenser, goes into the dryer, it goes into the capillary tube, which is the word that I was trying to remember, was a capillary tube. I have seen it frost all the way back to the capillary tube. That's what I was trying to say before that I couldn't remember. It's going to go through, okay, it's going to go through the evaporator, going to come back, it's going to come back down, and it's going to go into the compressor. And lo and behold, we're completed the cycle. Okay, so this unit has arrow logs. Okay, all arrows are logged in the memory. Only door arrow is displayed on the display and has an audible sound. That's if the door is left open. Okay, so if I have an EO, that means my door is open. If I have an E1, I have an open thermistor. If I have an E2, I have an open thermistor. So I have to go and find out which thermistor is open. Okay, we're going to go through. E3 does not apply to this model. E4 does not apply to this model. If I have an E5, it means that I have thermistor number 1 that's shorted. If I have an E6, I have thermistor number 2 that's shorted. Okay, so if I have an E9, it means the door has been left open. If I have an E10, open to open, the door 2 is open. There is no E11 through E13 in this model. If I have a P1, I have an open pump circuit. Okay. So our control operation. So number 1 is a hidden button. Okay. Number 2 is my up button. Number 3 is my down button. Number 4 is my light button. Number 5 is the power button. Number 6 is the clean button. Okay. Access the service menu, no LED directly above. That's how I get into my service menu. Okay. It navigates through the service menu, decreases temperature, navigates through the activates the light for 3 seconds on some of the models. On this one, it didn't say. It'll turn on and off the compressor. It activates the clean cycle, and it toggles between the zones in the dual zone model, which is this model does not have a dual zone. Okay, so the service mode. This mode has to enter the service mode. I'm going to hold the hidden key for 10 seconds. The process will show 0 when this mode is used, and the down arrow. I use the up and down arrows to select the desired option. Okay, the light key and the enter key will initiate the function. Okay, so if I'm trying to check the thermistor, okay, thermistor 2, I can toggle through, get to thermistor number 2. I can go to the enter key and it'll activate it. Okay, that if changing the settings, you got to press the light arrow key again to retain the change settings. To exit the service mode, I scroll to option 0, press the light key, and then after 5 minutes, or if I don't do anything after 5 minutes, it'll go away. Okay, so this will actually take me through each one of these problems, and I can search through and find all of them. Okay, and here they all are. Okay, I now need to know if anybody has any questions. We're over by about 24 minutes. I tried to make it as quickly as I could, but it didn't work. So we're still good. I hope that everybody had a good training. You learned a lot. Like I said, this will be available on the website, Encompass Training. Hopefully, everybody has it earmarked on their computers or on their Palm Pilot. I mean, Palm Pilot. Now I'm showing my age. My phone or my tablet. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, I don't see anybody. We're down to 6 people. Somebody must have had to leave. Guys, once again, thank you. Repeat the last 2 slides. Okay. Maybe. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So the service mode, okay. As I go into the service mode, it's going to display 0. When the mode is entered, use the up and down arrows to select the desired option. The light key is used to enter key will inactivate the function. Okay. If changing the setting, you must press the light key again to retain the changed settings. To exit the service mode, scroll to option 0 and press the light key. So you can't see number 1. It needs to be in a full view, which it will be whenever you get it in at Encompass University. All of these work a whole lot better at Encompass University than they do. There's something about the format here that just kind of makes everything a little wonky. Okay, so this can take me through to my thermistors. If I go to thermistor number 1, I've got an offset of plus or minus 10%. I can actually adjust that up and down a little bit. Okay, if I go down to the set points, I can reset those. Okay, defrost intervals, I can have it up to 99, 0 to 99 hours. Defrost duration 0 to 99 hours. Error log is number 15. 14, 15 is I can clear the error log by holding the light key until it's cleared. 16 thermistor number 1, and then it just continues on down. Okay, we're going to roll. 14 error log. See the appendix, which is down on the bottom. Clear the error log. Show the hold the light key. Oh, so I had gone back in and fixed it. For some reason, it didn't show. Okay, so 14 is the error log. 15 is the error log. It's how to clear it. Hold the light key. 16 is the thermistor number 1 plus 5%. Thermistor number 3 differential plus 5%. Number 18 is the evaporator fan delay. I can adjust it a little bit. Evaporator fan delay. Okay. Individual component toggle 0. Option number 1 is exit. Option number 2 is relay 1. Option number 2 is relay 2. Option number 3 is relay 3, of course. Option number 4 is relay 4. Option number 5 is relay 5. Option 6 is relay 6. Option 7 is the DC output. Okay. Option number 8 is the DC output number 2. Option number 9 is the DC output number 3. DC output option number 11 is the DC output number 5, and then option number 12 is the serial output for the compressor. If you go in and change the compressor, you need to change the compressor number. Okay. Number 21 is the model number. It gives me the model number. Number 22 is the light that activates all the segments. So that's everything's on. Okay. Activate the defrost. Press and hold for 3 seconds for number 23. Number 24 is press and hold the factory defaults. 25 is the main software. At sooner or later, they are going to have a software update that you can do through this unit. That's just later on down the road. Okay. The main software is just a display right now. Live log period, the data to the output to the diagnostic port. Factory test mode on 0 is off, 1 is on. Compressor RPMs, it tells me what the RPMs on the compressor is running. If I go to number 28, 29 is the freeze time. I can adjust it for model 54 only. Harvest time, same thing, model 54 only. Low temperature alarm is a model 55. Okay. Now, does anybody have any questions now?